We've got some exciting news for all you Marvel maniacs out there.
That's right. We're inviting you to join our exclusive Marvel Movie Minute membership program.
For just $5 a month or $55 a year, you'll gain access to a world of marvelous perks that will make you feel like you've been hit with a dose of super soldier serum.
As a member, not only will you get bad puns like that, you'll also get your own private podcast feed delivering early, ad-free episodes straight to your ears faster than Thor's hammer flying back to his hand.
And members also get access to periodic bonus episodes exclusively for our most dedicated fans. Consider it your own personal Jarvis for Marvel movie content.
Plus, you'll gain entry to our exclusive Discord community, where you can chat with other Marvel fanatics just like you. It's like you're assembling your very own team of Avengers.
Most importantly, by becoming a member, you'll be directly contributing to the show you love and helping us keep Marvel Movie Minute running strong. We value your support more than all the vibranium in Wakanda.
We can't thank you enough for being part of our journey through the MCU. You're the Pepper Potts to our Tony Stark, always there by our side.
You're the arc reactor to our Iron Man suit, the Heimdall to our Thor, the horny jokes to our Deadpool.
The gamma radiation to our Bruce Banner.
Well, maybe not that one.
I'm sorry.
So what are you waiting for? Don't be like Hawkeye, always getting left out of the action.
Head over to truestory.fm/join and become a member today.
Join us, and together we'll explore the Marvel Cinematic Universe like never before.
Step up to the streets and become the hero of your own story.
Excelsior, true believers. With your support, we'll make this membership program a smash hit. Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Horror movies get a bad rap. They're cheap thrills, mindless gore, not cinema, blah, blah, blah.
But we here at Sitting in the Dark know better. We know that horror is more than just jump scares and chainsaws. It's a reflection of our deepest fears, our anxieties, Okay, and there's a lot of jump scares and chainsaws.
Join us, Pete Wright, Tommy Metz III, Kyle Olson, and Keenan Diaz, as we cut into the dark heart of horror cinema.
Every episode, we explore a different facet of the genre, from survival horror to home invasions, from zombies to birds. We tickle the tropes, analyze the angles, and sharpen our own axes along the way.
We'll introduce you to the classics that shaped the genre.
And the modern masterpieces that are pushing the boundaries of terror.
Sitting in the Dark is your guide to navigating the terrifying, thrilling, and sometimes hilariously bad world of horror movies.
We'll help you understand why we love to be scared.
And maybe even convert you into a horror fan yourself.
So turn off the lights, close the basement door,
and join us.
Sitting in the dark.
In a world where podcasts are a dime a dozen, one show dares to stand out from the rest.
The Film Board, a podcast unafraid to tell it like it is.
We're here for one reason and one reason only. Downloads.
That's right. We review new release movies because that's what gets people's attention.
But just because we're in it for the clicks doesn't mean we don't take our job seriously.
We're part of the Next Reel family of film podcasts, and we're proud of it.
Our reviews are just as insightful and thought-provoking as any of our other film podcasts.
It's just that this podcast is all about that sweet, sweet SEO.
The nectar squoze from the tree of Bing.
We're only human, but we're also creators.
And creators eat clicks to survive.
So if you want honest, unfiltered opinions on the very latest movies right on opening weekend,
delivered with the self-awareness of a team looking for downloads,
then tune in to the Film Board,
where every download counts, but yours counts the most.
Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a weekly podcast which we disassemble a film for the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 5-minute segments and then examine them in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Storywell podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco and Kyle.
Yes, Rob.
Okay, I'm going to break the fourth wall here.
Oh.
We are recording this in the glorious year of 2025. Right now, we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of a year of cinema without compare. I'm talking about Batman Forever, Cyborg 3, Bloodfest 7, Showgirls, and Waterworld. And by the way, I'm a little bit snarky there at that last one. Waterworld's actually not a bad movie.
Yeah, they actually they released it on 4K and they put out an alternate cut. So like there's another version of it you can see.
It's actually a great movie, and it's a more wonderful Universal Studios experience if you've never had it. So do that if it's still there. Okay, I'm joking. 1995. It should be remembered for things like GoldenEye, Toy Story, Seven, and also a little comedy drama film directed by Chris Noonan, produced by George Miller, and written by both. It is the adaptation of Dick King Smith's 1983 novel, The Sheep Pig, which tells the story of a farm pig who wants to be a sheepdog. Of course, I'm speaking about the movie Babe. And in the words of Arthur Haggett, that'll do, pig. That'll do. Why do I say that? Because Pepper must love this movie. We'll get into that. Before we break, though, I just want to say this. When I was doing the research for this, and I'm thinking 1995, we have also recently just lost a film legend, Gene Hackman, right? In 1995, he has 3 movies come out.
Wow.
February 10th of 1995, The Quick and the Dead.
Oh, Sam Raimi Western.
Followed, solid movie. Sam Raimi, great, amazing. Followed by Crimson Tide in May.
Wow.
Bonkers movie.
Yeah.
And then closes the year in October with Get Shorty.
Man.
I mean, no, wait, I'm looking at this and I'm like, dude, that was a year. That was the year of Gene Hackman. Amazing career, phenomenal actor. Now back to you.
We shall not see his like again. And unfortunately, it's a true giant has passed the world. But we're lucky enough that these things survive and that we can talk about them. Maybe sometime somebody will do a minute by minute podcast of any one of those 3 films, because any actor would be lucky to have anything close to any of those 3 films in the resume, and he had 3 in 1 year. What a legacy. But we're not here to talk about Gene Hackman. We're here to talk about Iron Man 3 from 2013, directed by Shane Black, written by Shane Black and Drew Pearce. We are coming down to the final of the last moments of this. The battle has finished at the dock, and now we are sort of in the aftermath. So we are at the point where we've just seen Pepper go into her full-on action hero mode and wipe out all the rest of the remaining threats to it, including Killian. And now the two of them are sort of in this recovery period of like, okay, what happens now? So Tony is then finishing his sentence at minute 116, and he says, "That's what I do. I fix stuff," referring to curing her of the extremis issue. And Pepper says, "And all your distractions?" And Tony says, "I'm going to have to shave them down a little bit." Jarvis, hey. Jarvis says, "All wrapped up here, sir." So by that, we now know that he has taken care of all the other extremist soldiers. Everybody that had been killed or neutralized, probably killed.
Yeah, that's what neutralized means. Yeah, for these guys.
In the nice way of doing it. Like, he started as a warmonger, and, here we are. He says, "Will there be anything else?" And Tony says, "You know what to do." And then Jarvis says, "The clean slate protocol, sir." So obviously we had the house party protocol. Now we have the clean slate protocol. And Tony says, "Screw it. It's Christmas." Yes. And then Pepper is confused by this and then goes, and Tony pulls her into a big hug. And as they stand there, then we see in the sky a fireworks display, because Jarvis then one by one starts blowing up all of the Iron Man armors. So it's this, this big Christmas Eve, let's say Christmas Eve display of fireworks and explosions of 2 as all of them. Now, I would assume like we saw Killian inside the armor get destroyed, that it blew up. I would imagine this is almost total atomization. Like,
you'd like to think that. You'd hope.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here it is. Here now, as we are in this far in the future, nothing has ever come from this. Like, we've never seen a movie of someone like digging down into the wreckage around this dock and pulling up pieces, and like suddenly there's this weird like composite Iron Man suit that somebody shows up in of like made of all the different pieces. It's like one of those things where I'm like, it seems like Why has no one ever done that? But I guess they consider this to be, entirely wrapped.
That sounds like a great idea, though.
Right? I know. It's like to have like out of the, like suddenly emerges and it's like, all 10 different colors. And so you can see like, oh, there's part of Heartbreaker. There's part of the stealth suit. There's,
And
there's
by the way,
Igor.
Now, not that we'll get into the future, but that would be amazing based on the storyline of this movie about Tony's nightmares.
Yeah.
Like if there's ever been a nightmare that would come back and get you, would be the Frankenstein of the
right. And especially if you did like an Ultron thing where it was like,
oh my God,
because we now know they can be remote controlled, that an AI then has put together, and there literally is like the Iron Man robot, whatever thing going. The comics have touched on this a little bit, but to have this sort of as like Tony's nightmare. There at one point, Tony Stark was an AI, and like pulled off his helmet, and he had a hologram head of Tony. So for a while, there's even Marvel Legends even made a figure of that one for a time. But in the comics, man, Tony has been all over the place. But in this, we see all of the armor is then destroyed. Like he goes like all. Essentially 42 now by the end of this thing are completely atomized. There's nothing left. And the last remaining arc reactor is inside of Tony's chest. So we have basically the Iron Patriot armor took off, but that's sort of on its own journey. So then Pepper is then looking up and seeing basically Tony making the last sort of ultimate sacrifice for their relationship.
Oh, he's choosing her.
He's choosing
over
her.
all the suits.
That's right. Like he's like giving up all stuff. They talked a little bit of the commentary that the idea of this is that Tony has now healed. And so this is these are his casts or whatever breaking, or like his chrysalis, and he doesn't need them anymore. It's like, cause he's now healed. So he's destroying all of that. So now he's a fully functional person now. He no longer has to hide inside the armor. He is now Tony Stark.
That's a really nice way that's beautiful.
Isn't that? Yeah, that was after all the things he's been through, this is now his now he gets the girl.
That's way better than in my head, him standing there going, "You're the only mark I need." And like, then that would have been.
Doesn't play quite the same. No, it doesn't play. And she does seem like Pepper seems genuinely touched by this. She is looking up and, Tony says, "Okay, so far, do you like it?" As like, this is his gift to her, is blowing up all these things, including the one that tried to kill her. And then at minute 117, she says, "It'll do."
I wish she would have said, "That'll do, Tony. That'll do." That would have been great, but this is close enough. Close enough.
Yeah. So then we go to black. So from that, we then begin the epilogue. So in the voiceover, we hear Tony then picking back up and saying, "And so as Christmas morning began, my journey had reached its end." Oh. And so then we see a little thing. We say, you start with something pure. And then we show Dr. Maya Hansen. So Rebecca Hall, like back during their time in Switzerland, sort of before everything started to go wrong for her. Then he says, something exciting. Then comes the mistakes. And then we see Killian standing on the roof, looking down, these dark thoughts forming his head, and then and a belated picture wrap on Guy Pearce. This is the last time we actually see him, but I forgot to mention that as he got destroyed by Pepper Potts. So that was a picture wrap on Guy Pearce. So
yay!
Kudos to one of the great Iron Man villains. Then he says the compromises, and we see Miguel Ferrer, the vice president, being purple-locked through the some kind of holiday party. I suppose this is not the way he expected Christmas to be, because this is obviously the next day or nearby. And we see Rhodey then watching him go by in full military dress.
Can I kind of make some comments?
Yeah, sure.
So I think this is beautiful. I mean, I think this is beautiful as you watch it, where you have these silent, because it's the voiceover, you have these silent little moment vignettes of each one of these characters. Can I suggest they're all wrong?
Oh, interesting.
Because here's the problem.
Okay.
The something pure is Killian. Before he went through his transformation, he was pure. He was the real believer in that he could make a difference and needed someone's help. It's before all of the kicks to the head and everything else happened that then contorted him. The something exciting and the mistakes is Maya. Because it's a totally different. Yes, what she's doing is incredibly exciting, and she's the one who made the mistake. And the compromises are all the people who aided them. I think it's weird because one of the things that we find is, and we love Miguel Ferreira. He is a splinter of a cameo in this film.
True.
He is a tiny part. Like, I almost think that, like, during that one of, like, the compromises, it's all the people who said, go ahead, do this to me. Right? Like, all the people who had to make those decisions based on all the different things they went through. I think you get to a totally different place of what his lessons are learned. And I will talk more about this later, because this is where I'm coming to my thoughts on this film.
So a montage of corpses, though, doesn't play quite the same.
That's not what yeah. I mean,
pile of extremist soldiers.
That's a future movie.
I don't know. I say I would disagree about that. I think because and we have throughout this whole movie, this whole podcast we've been doing, we have had different feelings on Dr. Hinson about Maya. Sure. And so I would disagree, because I think she did start out from a place of regenerate, like healing. Like, that was where her research started. She wanted to essentially be able to do what Killian eventually perfects and gets to of bringing healing soldiers, like healing people. In fact, starting with plants and then working your way up. That was where it is, but it was the length she was willing to go. So right. I think it was pure. We never actually see Killian have any original ideas. Like, everything he does is based off of somebody else's. In the same way, like, he is closer to Justin Hammer in that he's just taking other people's ideas and doing them. He takes Maya's ideas and twists them into something different. He takes the iconography he's not a terrorist. He's just using terrorist iconography. He's not really interested.
What is he looking for? We go back to the beginning of the movie. What is he coming to Tony with?
Money. Like, he wants to start a think tank to do it, but a think tank for what? Like, he doesn't have any idea. Like, he's not coming to him with like a proposal. He's even Justin Hammer, has ideas. They're not great.
I guess I just don't see. He was not the villain until the twist.
Yeah, I guess that. I mean, that goes along with sort of what we are hearing in this montage of like the place you start out, and what we learn essentially from Killian is he was willing to do anything in order to succeed. It doesn't matter how many people had to die, to accomplish his goals. Was he moral at one point? We don't know. Like, Maya is sort of more the tragic story of like someone who sold out, like who gave up all this, but we don't know really anything about Killian beforehand of like, was he always this ruthless? Like, did he lie and cheat his way through college and stuff? He's a smart person, but like, what was he like as a person before? Was there a moment that changed him or something? But he thinks it was on the roof, but was it? I don't know. I mean,
that's true. It could have been more.
A novelization or a television show would have a more nuanced kind of thing of this, but this is a summer action movie, and everything's got to keep moving, right?
Well, no, and then so better question. As the VP is escorted out in cuffs, and then we see the shot on Rhodey. That's real Rhodey, right?
Okay. We still don't know. It still could be Skrull Rhodey at that point.
We don't know. We don't know. No spoilers, but like yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
We don't. Tony says we create our own demons, and that's when we see Trevor Slattery getting pulled out of a police car, finally getting the ovation he always wanted. So of all the people, like, Trevor does get what he wants, just not in the way that he expected it. He now is world famous. He has a adoring mob screaming his name and yelling for and wanting interviews, and he doesn't get the fact that he is in danger. Like, things are not going to be going well for him, and he's just happy that he's getting the applause, as Lady Gaga would say. So he's walking the crowd, sort of like, "Oh, great to see you," and then my question though is we're going to see a little bit as we go along that we're going to see sort of what happens to Trevor, because Trevor's story is not done. He continues on, but does the world at large know who Trevor Slattery is? Like, was there like during the he got arrested and perp walked in front of everybody,
right?
Was he walked as the Mandarin or was he walked as Trevor? It's unclear. Like at what point does the news break the fact that there was an actor who was hired to portray this and Killian was actually the guy who was the real Mandarin and all that stuff? Because when he shows up again in prison, it's a little unclear.
Well, I mean, okay, but when you look at the shot of this, I mean, there is a significant amount of people. Here's the deal. I would think, here's why I'm going to say they know the story. Okay. Because if the public still thought he was the Mandarin, this crowd would have been far larger and far angrier.
That's true.
So that's the one thing you get. And then as it peters out here, he's got fans clearly in this crowd.
Yeah.
So, and not that I'm saying that people can't be twisted,
right,
but the size of this crowd and the fact that there's a fan club, I think people have been told the story that this was all a sham.
Yeah, I have not watched Long Live the King in a long time, so maybe some of this is answered. But I know there is that weird back and forth of like the people in prison are still treating him like that, but when he's talking to the reporter, he's talking as Trevor. So I don't know, I guess they're trying to, they kind of want to have it both ways. But then we, after Trevor goes on there, then Tony continues on and he says, but then I thought to myself, why stop there? Mm-hmm. And so we get to see some heart surgery. So now we have the return of Dr. Wu, who we talked about in like a very, very first episode. And this, like, obviously, as we talked about there, this was supposed to be a much longer, much more in-depth scene of Dr. Wu having to do all this stuff to help him. But in the end, he does this thing. But essentially, he's there to remove the shrapnel from Tony's chest and finally heal him once and for all, like of the sort of the one injury that has never been able to heal. And I thought the way they did this was actually pretty brilliant, of taking the arc reactor out and hanging it above his body. So rather than using the arc reactors to sort of keep the shrapnel from moving any closer to Tony's heart, it uses it as a magnet to pull him out of his body after it's surgically removed, and then attached onto sort of a magnet that's above it. It was one of those like, oh, that's actually really clever. That's so as minute 118 starts, Tony says, of course, there are people who say progress is dangerous, but I'll bet none of those idiots ever had to live with a chest full of shrapnel.
I will say it's too bad that scene with Dr. Wu is just like 3 seconds longer, because it's easy to miss. Yeah. It's hard to see that it's the same character from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this, but I will say that, when they do this, the panning of the camera and he's laying there, obviously ready to begin the surgery.
Yeah.
It looks like they just took a prop and laid it on his chest. Like they didn't do anything at all.
Maybe they brought back the one from, the first Iron Man. Like,
well, no, because that one has that great scene where she's putting her hand in his body, right? Like, no, like this just seemed a little bit like, okay, we got to just do this. Put this on your chest. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. And then we see looking on as Tony's about to go in, like to go under for this surgery, he gives a little thumbs up, and you see Pepper and Don Cheadle, this roadie, standing at the window, and that as I was looking in, was looking concerned, and that is a picture wrap on Don Cheadle. That is the last shot we see of Rhodey in Iron Man 3, is him looking on Tony with concern.
Clearly, right before he takes Pepper to the club, because she's wearing like some really wild outfit.
Yes. Well, I have a little bit about that too. And
good.
He said, okay, so he says, ever had to live with chest full of shrapnel, and now neither will I. Let me tell you, that was the best sleep I had in years. Right. And so this is when the reactor, we see that thing. Okay, so then we cut to Hong Kong. And once again, another nod to the Chinese market that they were trying to capitalize on. And Tony is putting a very fancy necklace onto Pepper. Right. And here's something I learned that after watching this, I watched this movie when it came out and multiple times since, that I never, ever picked up on. And they had to say it in the commentary. Maybe you got this is, but that necklace is the shrapnel.
Yes.
I never got that before. They cut from the shrapnel to this necklace, and like it's a real like a ruby or whatever. But all the pieces around it are the pieces of shrapnel from his chest. So he made that into a piece of art, a piece of jewelry, and gave it to Pepper Potts and this little heart thing as, next to his heart. So kind of a callback to proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
Yes, absolutely. Like all of this.
Yeah.
A few things. I did not know this until I was doing my little deep dive too.
Yeah.
This scene seems so out of place.
Yeah.
And when you said Hong Kong, I was like, oh, really? Because I think it's iStock photo 27745. Like,
yes, I think it was probably North Carolina.
Like, what is
they put on? But that was the idea, as they were supposed to be, because that's where the surgery took place. He went over to.
Oh,
I think this is when we talked about way back at the start of this, when we talked about the alternate cut of Iron Man that doesn't exist anywhere else,
right?
China, which I still in my. I've never been able to track it down. I think that this probably sequence was longer.
Oh, it had to be, yeah.
There was the extra footage. What I think there was a whole like conversation with Dr. Wu and all of that.
Well, and you can tell. I mean, it is that skyline because there's some structures there that are from that city. Yeah. Okay, so beautiful little shot of the shrapnel. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. So he just has now a hole in his chest?
Yeah, I wondered about that too. We don't really see him shirtless a lot from here on out, but I think that they close it up. I don't think he still has he probably has a scar, but I don't think he still has like a metal plate or anything.
So here's interesting something. I have read in several spots in books where that's where the nanites are.
Oh, interesting.
So the suit, once he expands the technology, that cavity is what's holding the suits.
Okay. He's still using the physical suits in next time he shows up is Age of Ultron, right?
Right. But then later on. So I'm wondering, and here's another story we don't have an answer for.
Right.
What does he say? Like, he's like, well, now that I've got this little compartment, I would like to think of things I can use it for in the future. Like,
I mean,
that's Tony. Of course he's thinking that. That's just funny. I just was like, okay, that's just wild. The necklace thing is gorgeous. And by the way, shocked that hasn't been made available for sale yet.
Yeah.
Really, because that just
this is before the Marvel merchandising machine that was really up and running, where like every single thing that they hold or touch is available for purchase at some point.
Yeah.
So then on this this tender embrace of the two of them, that is a picture wrap on Gwyneth Paltrow.
Hey.
That's the end of her time there too. So we are left with just the man himself. Tony Stark. We cut to, of course, Rob's favorite character in the piece, who has survived his injuries without extremis, and it's Happy Hogan has awoken in his bed, and you see his hand reaching for the remote control for it, and the nurse. The return of Brooke J. Taylor, who we talked about in an earlier one. He gets angry at her for blocking his view as he sees that his favorite television show, Downton Abbey, is playing on the screen. So he pushes her aside and then does a little side glance of oh, hey, how you doing?
Checking her out. Oh, okay.
With his bloody, beaten up, bruised eyes and face, sort of how's it going? Hey, what's your situation?
I just want to say something. Actually, I have a couple things to say. When I'm watching this and it went to this, I literally said to myself, oh yeah, Happy's in this movie. Right? Totally had forgotten. And then I realized why I had forgotten it, because come on, man. She's doing her job. My wife's a nurse. That sucks. Don't do that.
We don't know. Maybe they tried to make a go of it, and then eventually we know who he ends up dating. But
they love right now they're watching Downton Abbey
together. Yeah, exactly.
You don't know how TV shows can bring characters. Ask Wong. He'll tell you.
That's right. And so then off of that, slightly leering shot, that's a picture wrap on Jon Favreau.
All right, way to go. Yay.
Creator of the original Iron Man film, along with other people, but he was the main man behind it. So we tip our hat to the man himself. So as we hit minute 119, then the other little dangling plot thread that we haven't addressed, Harley. So we're back in Rose Hill, Tennessee. Harley comes running in, drops off the school bus, opens his garage, and finds his garage had an extreme home makeover. Like it had been completely redone, including the Mustang. Like they took the Mustang and actually went through the whole thing. I mean, they made it all nice, and so everything's bright and shiny and new and fancy. And Harley is just like, overly. And then we see a note. I know there are font nerds out there. I'm pretty sure this is Data 70.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty great. I did my font research, and so if it's a different one, please let us know. But that's what as I was looking through fonts, that's what I found, and it's very 80s sort of style of the generic computer font. Like you could, the $6 Million Man kind of would be written in that. And it says, "Potato Gun Mark II, your pal, the mechanic." So we see then a brand new potato gun. He is, in addition to all these tools and electronics and FiOS, like once again, another maybe our final glowing ad in Iron Man 3.
Let's just say, so the first shot as it's going around, among many other things, there's a clear FiOS ad on the computer screen. He's got the really cool cooler, the redone Mustang, looks great. And you saw what was next to the note.
Yes. So I wanted to mention that because next to the note is a Dora the Explorer limited edition watch, which everyone forgot about. Until the final showing of the movie, where they're like, shouldn't the watch be there? And they all went, oh no, and they had to do a rush job from Weta to hey, quick, somebody make a CGI watch and put it there. So if you go back, it's really hard to tell. They did a really good job, but that is a CGI watch because they all forgot to put the way. Yes. They mentioned the commentary. They got to the screen, shouldn't he be giving the watch back? And they're like, oh no. So they're on the phone really quick. Hey, overworked CGI creators, can you also put a watch in the? Can
I tell you right now how happy that makes me?
Yeah.
Because here's what makes me happy.
Thought of it,
that somebody thought of it and they were like, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, post it. Let's go. Okay. Yeah. Great job.
And that's a picture wrap on Ty Simpkin.
Nice job. Great.
We will see him once more. But so this is not a final. So then as we go along, then we cut back to the man himself, Tony Stark, all alone in the wreckage of his. Now we don't know how long this has been. So like we talked about, we are way outside the timeline now. We don't know exactly when this takes place, right. But it's further down the line because obviously he's healed and stuff too, and you can see that the life has begun to find a way, and so the plants have now sort of taken over what used to be stately Stark Manor, and is now just a ruin. So everything is sort of overgrown at this point, and Tony's there looking sharp, and you can see his shirt's open a little bit, so you can see it no longer has the arc reactor in there. But where is that arc reactor? And it turns out it's in a paper bag that he's carrying. So he pulls it baby. Now, I assume because it is Tony Stark, this is not a fully functional arc reactor, which we spent 2 movies saying is the most powerful, valuable thing in the entire world. That this is what's left of it. He's taken the Starkium out of it or whatever. It's it's sort of just, this is, I think, a symbolic gesture because as we're about to see, Tony doesn't like to waste anything. So he then holds this thing and he throws it out into the water, into the wreckage of stately Stark Manor, which is at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
I thought you were going to say he Kylo Ren's it. And then he turns around, it's the ghost of his dad. And he's like, Tony, what are you doing?
Howard? Yeah, no. You got John Slattery for this?
Jeez, That would be amazing, though. That would change Rise of Skywalker completely.
He just stands there and just nods his head and then just gets blown away.
What?
So then Tony says, as minute 120 starts, Tony says, so if I were to wrap this up, tie it with a bow or whatever, I guess I'd say my armor, it was never a distraction or a hobby. It was a cocoon. So as we see as Tony's walking away, his foot stumbles across something. He reaches down, digs in a little bit into the plants, and finds a very small screwdriver. And he looks up and sort of regards it. And he says, and now I'm a changed man, but not that much of a changed man, because he climbs into the 2013 Audi R8 e-tron, which was a this is actually had not even been released to the public at this point. This was a prototype, like an early prototype car that would come out later. From the filming to when it came out, it was a big thing. So, like, once again, Audi and Iron Man connected, and of course in Tony Stark red, like it's the signature color. And so then as he's driving away, we see that somehow, even though at this point he doesn't have any armor, so I don't know how he did, but went down into the wreckage and has rescued DUM-E and U.
Yay!
Covered in wreckage up too, but they're in the trailer. So he went back and got his boys out of there. And oddly enough, this is a franchise wrap on you. We never see you again. DUM-E does show up again. Like I sort of was like, is this it for both of them? But no, DUM-E does show up multiple times in multiple things, but we never see you again. So I guess you died in that thing because he never comes back.
Wow.
So rest in peace, you. Like, he and Aldrich Killian somewhere are no longer in the franchise. Like,
Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah.
Sarah McLachlan singing a song.
They're in the arms of the angel. So thank you. You tried your hardest. You weren't the best, but you still were there for Tony.
You took up space. Thank you.
You held the camera. You did. You're no dummy, but what can you do? So then we see a close-up on Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, Iron Man, who says, you can take away my house, all my tricks and toys. One thing you can't take away, sunglasses off. I am Iron Man. So before we get into like sort of that post there, let's talk about that for a minute, because there was some conversation on the commentary because they went back and forth. The first draft was, I am Tony Stark, because at this point he isn't Iron Man. But then they decided for the holistic of it, like the sort of the end, like they ended the first movie with I am Iron Man to end it this way. What do you think about that?
Do you see my face just covered?
Yeah, but they don't. So that's why I need you.
I know. I want to tell you this. So and by the way, cut to black.
Cut to black.
We'll talk about what happens. Right. Okay. So let me just say something. This is one of those sequences, the whole sequence going all the way, and I still have an issue with Maya and Killian and right? Okay. That from that beginning to this end, this is one of those parts of a movie where as you're watching it, you say, "Aw," and then the movie ends, and then you start to think about it, and you go, "Huh?" Like, no, none of that makes any sense. That's all nonsense. Okay, first of all, my armor was never a distraction. Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was. That you spent like 3/4 of this movie.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Was it a hobby? Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Piece of armor. You only needed one.
And if you're going to tell me now it was a cocoon, when cocoons happen, you're entirely different after you leave the cocoon. You're not.
Yeah.
You still have
suits.
The
same guy. Yeah. You're better, healthier.
I'm sorry for that. Let me calm down.
Relationship, but
no, this is where I go. I don't get no.
If okay, so what? Let's. There's a couple things to break down. So, what do you think about the I am Iron Man versus I am Tony Stark?
And here's the deal. It should have been I'm Tony Stark. Wink. Cut to black, because the point would have been. Now it's me. It's me. It's not me with the facade or the mask or anything else. And then, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, then the future I am Iron Man, the ultimate one, that completes the circle. That completes the story. So, yes, it should have been Tony Stark, 100%. I didn't know that. And now I'm like, okay, I can't believe I'm going to say this. That actually would change my opinion on this.
Yeah.
So
we'll should we do a bigger breakdown? We'll talk about like overall. I think, that was my thought too. It was like, no, that's not you like right now at this moment in your life. You aren't. You are like the point is that you are Tony Stark. Like that. I thought that was the journey of this movie was rediscovering that and like shedding all the pieces and becoming the human being as opposed to the superhero. Wasn't that
I mean,
what we were
and
doing?
go back to the very beginning. Like, if you're still dealing with the PTSD of the Battle of New York, and you're dealing with that, the real beauty of that is to try to unpack it is the guy who's flying off into another dimension with a nuke on his back and almost sacrifices his life. That's not Iron Man. That's Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He's helped by the suit and everything else, but that's the real thing. And by the way, the people who love you, Pepper, Rhodey, they love Tony Stark.
Happy Hogan.
Oh my God, Happy. I keep forgetting Happy's name. Sorry.
Intentionally.
And Happy. They love Tony Stark.
Yes.
I mean, I know it doesn't.
Yeah, that would. I agree. I think that there's certain things that I've been Tony Stark, and I don't think people would have been like, oh, and like thrown their popcorn down.
No, they would have been like, that's awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Because then as that's like that's and that is a picture wrap on Robert Downey. Oh wait, that isn't a picture wrap on Robert Downey Jr. Oh, what?
Oh, wait,
what does that mean? I don't know. It's like at that point, that is when the credits start, which we're going to save for our next conversation. We're going to do
by the way,
one.
If anybody, yes, so we're going to end just like a few seconds early because we're going to save that then for the final episode. Let me just say this right now. If you're listening to this and you go, Rob, you know what? You stink. Don't like the fact that you're down on this. You've ended it and you're like, nah. Hold on to the next episode because my tune's about to change.
That's right. So if you want to find out the hot take earlier, or even get a jump start on the next film in the MCU franchise that the Marvel Minute will be covering, maybe consider becoming a member over at truestory.fm/join for just $5 a month or $55 a year. You can get access to episodes early and ad-free.
Nice.
It's just our way of trying to extend the love to you as you join our amazing little collection of weirdos, which we say with love. So be back here for our final episode of the Iron Man 3 minute by minute podcast here. We have a lot of stuff we need to talk about. So we'll be there, and we expect you to be there as well. Enough said.
Bye.